Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are having a fun event today. We're talking about recipes and doing some fun things with recipes, either cooking or crafting. So I'm going to be in the crafty bunch today, and so it's Family Recipe Day. I'm going to do a couple things right here. I'm going to get shared in over there, but I've got a couple of things to do here so I can see comments. When you come in, let me know that you're here and say hello. This is kind of a different time for me to be going live. Hey there, Cheryl. Thank you for sharing me in there. There we go. Gotta see the comments, right, you guys? Oh man, it's Saturday. It's morning. But I'm ready to go. Hopefully. I tell you, after my fiasco, the last time I did a live with my whole setup, man, I was almost dreading this. I'm like, oh, I hope it doesn't do something crazy at the last minute again. That's never any fun, right? Oh my goodness. So you guys, do you guys have any favorite family recipes that you like to use or share, or what's some of your favorite family recipes in your family? Or maybe you're the first one who has used it. Maybe you have started the tradition of what what you guys like. Sometimes that happens. I know we've had that happen in our family as our family grew, and people expanded the different kinds of things that they were eating and trying. There was always something new, and so it was always a lot of fun to try, something new. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to craft up a little project, and I tell you what, I found these, I had a bunch of recipe cards. A lot of times we don't use recipe cards that much anymore. Some of us, so many things are online. Cheryl says her grandma Bert was famous for her chicken and dumplings. And you can't get it right. Isn't that the way it is? Sometimes they're just, it just turns out different. Good morning, Becky. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes those things just are not the same, and we don't know why. My mom had a recipe that people had given her it was an Italian cake. I can't remember exactly what they called it. I want to say Italian cream cake, but that might not be right. And she just claimed over and over that that they did not give her the same recipe, because whoever had it, she had eaten it at church things several times, and she just claimed no, it just couldn't be the same because she could not get it right. And when I finally saw the recipe, it seemed like it had eggs that were really well beaten, or maybe egg whites. And when I looked at it, I wondered if maybe she did not have a mixer that could really beat that up and fluff it up the way that it needed to be. I don't know, but we've always got those. But she just swore up and down that no, they did not give her they did not do it because they didn't want her to make one as good as theirs. I'm gonna put us down to the desktop now. Oh, here, hang on one second. Let me I'll put myself up there. There we go. So, oh my goodness, yeah, the other day when I was trying to I was all ready and everything for my live, and I just went haywire, and sometimes those things do that. Look at these cards, you guys. Look at they're all dark from being written so long ago, and I just love it. This one was for Russian tea. Look how she spelled Russian. I thought that was funny. And then here are non-fattening French fries. And when I came across that, I'm like, oh, what in the world? So I read that and I thought, well, that was interesting. So you cut up a potato and, cut it in long slices like you would for French fries. And then it said you put them on a baking dish with the skin side down. And then she goes, so they look like little boats. And then you cook at 500 degrees or higher for 25 to 35 minutes until they become brown and puff a little bit. And then you turn on the broiler so you can get them a little crispier and give them a little bit better color. And then she says, but then she wrote, oh, for a crisper, browner potato, prepare the same and cook them in an oven at 500 for 15 to 20 minutes and then place under the broiler for 3 to 5 minutes. Looks like she'd perfected what she was doing, and she wrote that note down there. Don't you love that when they write down exactly what they were? Yes, Cheryl, when I found these that were handwritten, I'm like, oh man, how could you not do something with those? Right now, I made some photocopy. I took a picture with my phone, and then I don't know, some of the newer phones, did you guys know that you can like take out the background right there on your phone? You just hold if you've got an iPhone and you just hold your finger down over the photo, it'll do this funny little wiggly line around the edge, and then you can save it like that, and it will not have any background around it. So that's kind of cool. And then I've got one she made for oatmeal cookies, and I thought it was so cool because she had her own cards with her name on it. So if she gave a recipe to someone, it had their name. Lots of people will put their names, who it was from or where they got the recipe. This was my mom's, and it's called enchilada pie. This is a well-used, well-loved recipe. This truly is a recipe that is, one of our family favorites. And she got this from my aunt. My aunt was a home ec teacher, and she was always bringing us home recipes, or, she'd fix something and then share the recipe with us. But the enchilada pie recipe, over the years, we've tried to kind of tame it down a little bit, because you cooked all the tortillas in oil, and then practically a whole package of them, and you layer it up, similar to a lasagna. Phew. And yes, you could crop it. But, if you've got it and you don't have to do all of that, you could do that. But like a recipe. Hi, Nicole. How are you? But yeah, Jill, Becky, thanks everybody for joining me this morning. I wasn't sure if I'd have many watchers with, people joining me. And here's this cherry cobbler recipe. This is another one we're going to use. Now, I did not use... I made a photocopy of, I've got this all set. So I'm going to cut these out. So let's go ahead and get started. So, oh my goodness, yeah, tell me, Linda, hey, Lisa, how are you? Linda, are you talking about the, what did I say? The enchilada pie recipe? Oh, I tell you, we love a good enchilada pie. Now, this might be kind of large. Let's see. I found a fun printable. Well, first of all, I had a hard time trying to decide what size I was going to make these. These are going to be, like something you could put on the wall. And, I first thought I would make these and frame them in like 5x7s. And then I thought, well, a recipe card is a 3x5. Linda, I can't believe that. I tell you what, the one we have is absolutely wonderful. But the best thing is, now, the sad thing is there's hardly ever much left over. The good thing is, well, no, I guess you could say it either way. Maybe it's a good thing there's hardly anything left over because everybody likes it. But you guys, if it can sit until the next day, and I always laugh saying, I don't know why we don't wait and eat it the next day, because it's almost better. I gotta find my paper trimmer. Oh, there it is. So I went ahead and got these on a different page, And I just printed these on kind of a, it's a lightweight cardstock. I should have just got scissors, you guys. Hang on a second. Let me grab I got good big scissors. Let's just do that. Let's just cut them by hand. Now you want to make one? Me too. Becky says she has a recipe basket full of handwritten family recipes. Yeah, we probably all do, right? Some of them are getting kind of old looking, like these. They're certainly vintagey looking, that's for sure. Yeah, what are some of the other recipes that you guys, you know, your families have made over the years that you really, really enjoyed? That you kind of think is a family favorite? Another one of my grandmas, she was funny because if she came to something at one of the families, and it didn't even matter which one it was, if she brought something that people liked and people commented on it, pretty much you could depend that that was going to be what she would bring forevermore. So it's funny. You know, well, there's nothing wrong with that. At least she knew people would like it, right? So, one of these that we've got here, I've got 3 different ones here. One is about the enchilada pie, which I went ahead and I typed up some stuff. I'm not going to try and write these. Since there's already handwriting on here, I'm going to let that be the featured handwriting. Otherwise, I really do urge people to use their own handwriting for, you know, when you're telling your story, I guess would be a way to say it. When you're telling your story on something. Now, basically, you know, this is kind of like a scrapbook on a wall. Linda says her mom passed away 3 years ago and she has a cookbook of hers with handwritten ones inside. Oh, yeah, that would be great to make something with that. And you know, that's why we always say, whether you like your handwriting or not, you should have some things that you have written like that, because, you know, someday someone will really cherish that. They will, you know, and I look at mine, I'm like, I don't know how anybody would ever cherish any of that. Now, I'm going to crop these. This is some text that I wrote. I hope I didn't get this way too big. You know, I guess I better move these so I didn't want to use my real ones. Guess I better move them or I might. Who else has some cool handwritten recipes? Hey, Cheryl, good morning. How are you? Well, you know, and I tell you what, it makes me happy that you want to make something. That's always my goal, is just to inspire you to, you know, think about what we've done. And you never have to do something exactly like you see one of our creators, right? If we can be an inspiration to you, and that is really big text. Super large. Oh, well, you know what? It is that's part of what we're doing, is we're telling the story. And so that is the story. The story is kind of the main focus, I guess, really, when you think about it. All right, and just twist and turn here. Hey, Nyla, thank you. How are you doing today? We got our friends popping on. And I forgot. Let's see let me see. Let me look over here, you guys, so I can see who else is going to be on with us today. After me is going to be Bev with Country Loving Market. And then we've got Brenda, Totally Together Creating with Brenda. And then Nyla's going to be on. Then Cheryl is going to be on. Cheryl is going to do, our Mama P is going to do a 3-hour segment today. And she was doing that to fill in. We really had a lot of spots open for some reason. And she decided she would take advantage of that. And she's going to be making that Ethiopian meal today, because that was going to be a perfect opportunity. She says people are always asking her about it. And so that's what she's going to do. So that is going to be fabulous to watch today. And then Nyla with Texie's Treasure Chest. And then we're going to have Nicole from Adoria Creations. So we've got all kinds of goodness today. You know, I printed these on 8x10s. That's not true. Oh my word. This is not an 8x10. It's a regular sheet of paper. And that is going to be a pain to try and find something to... That's hard to find frames that fit those. Although it's not impossible. So I guess I'll just leave that. So let's see. I got this one here to do the... I love these cherries. And I had one. Here's my grandma's cherry cobbler recipe. Handwritten right there. And I just thought, even though all of this stuff has so much going on, I figured if we kind of put them in the... covered up some of this spot, or you know what, I could even ink some of it and kind of knock it down a little bit. And I think I'll ink the edges to kind of pull that up a little bit. See what we can do here to just play around, right? Linda says some new ones you have not seen before. Are you talking about our crafters? Our creators? Is that what you meant? Oh, I got something in the way here. I'm trying to get back here so I can see a comment. I'll have to print. Oh. Okay, I got back to... Okay, so Jill was saying we'll have to print because kids today don't know how to read cursive. Well, I tell you what, we've got some kids that don't. And my grandson was in that group where they were trying that out. And my daughter decided that was the most ridiculous thing she ever heard. And so she, during the summer, after she found out that year they were not doing that, she went ahead and taught him cursive on her own. And she goes, this is the most ridiculous thing. She says, how do they think kids are going to be able to, you know, sign their name? You know, I mean, what is everybody going to just start printing? And this doesn't hardly need anything. And, you know, she was just so irritated about it. And then I think I've heard since then that a lot of the places, and I hope this is true, that they have gone back to teaching kids cursive. Oh my gosh. One time I had a book that my mom and dad had written. It was like one of the first books they ever bought me when I was learning to read. And I had it, and with my grandson, we were sitting there, and I go, oh, can you see what this says? And he looks at it, and my mom had just written something like, basically, they're, you know, that it was from them, but it was in cursive. And he looks at me and he goes, no, I don't read French. Just like, he was just little. I'm like, yeah, that's not French. But, oh my gosh, kids are funny, aren't they? They're just a lot of fun. The funny things that they say. And, you know, I mean, and it's not, and I think, you know, sometimes it's hard not to laugh. You don't want to always laugh because they're serious. You know, sometimes the things that they say, it's serious business. So, okay, and then, okay, I had to go back to that Handwriting leaves a tender feeling inside of you. Oh my, yes, especially ones who have passed away, right? That's so right. Hi, Maritza. Nyla, I'm up and at it. That's how I am. Oh my goodness. My goodness. But I'm good. Thank you. All right. So I got a little edging on those. And so I was going to use this one for the cherry pie, or the, not pie, cherry cobbler. How many of you make some kind of fruit cobblers, or, you know, that's something that your family enjoys? And I don't know, is that something more in the South? Your granddaughter was so scared to learn to sign her name. Oh my goodness. Right, Kay? She did make a good decision to teach him that. Hey, Christy, how are you? Okay, new creators. Okay, thanks, Linda. Good. I hope you find some, you know, I always say I love when we get to see, you know, different people on. Okay, so I think I'm just going to put, let's see, where should we do that? Okay, now here's my cherry pie story. Oh, I kind of like that. I think maybe I'll lay them just like that. I like that. Kay says she makes peach, apple, and blueberry cobblers. Okay, now that I found another, okay, and Nyla does too. All right, you guys, so now I want to know, do you, what took a lot of work? Oh, teaching the kids to do cursive. Okay, you guys, you cobbler makers, do you use the kind where you do something basically like pie crust and you use that? My husband's mom did that, and she did something where she'd even drop strips of it in while she cooked the stuff on the stove and had that in there, and then she'd put it in a dish, put some more strips on top, and then bake it. So, do you do something like that, or do you use the way this recipe is basically, you mix something up, you put your fruit in, you don't cook the fruit, you put your fruit in, I think you basically dab a little bit of, seems like you'd put a little bit of butter on it, and then this has like a cup of sugar and some water, and then you drop the spoonfuls of your kind of dough mixture on the top. And as it cooks, it spreads out and makes kind of this soft, fluffy, not fluffy, I don't know. It's a fabulous texture that's, you know, it covers the top of it. So I want to know which kind of cobbler you do. Even her strawberry was layers of crust and fruit. Oh, Cheryl, that is interesting. I don't think I've seen one like that. Oh, you gave her $200 to learn to. That was her signing her name. That's what you're talking about, still, right? Yes, like a dumpling when it's cooked. Well, Nyla, do yours spread out and make kind of this soft crust? I saw something the other day. My daughter and I were watching this thing, and it was called. We think it went into a different show afterwards, but what we had originally been watching was about depression foods during the Depression. And that was pretty interesting. Although we laugh because she says, where are they getting these clips and these pictures? She goes, some of this stuff is not during the Depression. She goes, what'd they do? Just Google it up and find anything? And so I started watching with her, and I'm going, yeah, pretty much. It was pretty funny, the things that we started seeing on there. You know, I think I'm going to grab some little adhesive things. I'm going to pop these up a little bit. So these are like Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, and I'm going to put this on. You know what? I think before I do that, I think I'm just going to brush a little more color on here too. Use homemade pie crust on the bottom. See, ours didn't have a bottom to it. And sides and biscuits on top. Okay. Oh, well, what I started to say was we saw this thing, and I think it might have even gone into a different segment. But they made something, and at first I thought it was kind of this kind of one like we make. I don't want to get... I need a piece of... What do I do with all that scrap paper? I don't want this to be a big blob. And they called it, oh gosh, they had two completely different names for it. But they would, and it was dough dropped in. But the way that they did it, the dough just sat there. And so it had a big glob of dough. And yes, it truly looked more like we think of dumplings. So, and I can't remember. It had they called it two different names. And I don't remember. I'd never heard of it before. But yeah, they weren't calling it cobbler at all. What about framing the piece? Oh! Well, shoot. Yeah, that sounds like an excellent idea. You know what? Let me grab... Okay, I'm going to have to walk away for 1 second. Hang on. Let me grab a... Thank you. That's a great idea. Let me see if I can find something quick. What do you think? Should we use brown? Okay. Okay, I got a couple of... Well, you know, red would... If I could have found the right red color, that would have been... Oh, that's not a good brown color. That's... I don't know. I don't know. Those look terrible for a cherry cobbler recipe. Ugh. Hang on a second. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. All right. Well, I'll be back. I didn't leave. Don't leave me, friends. Oh, I can't find a good one. Oh, let's see. Hang on, I might have found something. I hardly ever have to leave during... Oh, that looks kind of good, actually. Hey, I kind of like that for the cherry pie one. Look at that. Yeah. Let's do that. Thank you. Your mom would make Italian recipes. Yeah, I tell you, I love Italian food. Although, I tell you what, anymore... I really try to stay away from some of the pasta. It's just, I just can't hardly take that. Where's a ruler? Where's a ruler? Oh my goodness, you guys. Look, now you're making me scramble and work. What the heck? Well, here's one. I think these should be about the same size as they were. Oh, they're a little bit bigger. That's more than 5 inches. Wow. Okay, so let's do 5.5 by... We'll just do 5.5 by 3.5. That should work. I don't know if... I don't know if the other... We'll have to look at the other things. I don't want to just cut all of this down. So 5.5 to 3.5. What other kinds of fabulous kinds of favorite family cooking have you guys had? Okay, as soon as I get to where I'm ready here, I didn't quite get that all the way through. Oh man, I can't cut that with that. Okay, so now that we've talked about the cobbler, as soon as I get this ready, I'm going to tell you the cobbler story that's on here. Gotta be careful and not pull these things, or then you'll really have a mess. There. Okay. So. Alrighty. So here's our cherry cobbler. Well, what in the world? Obviously, I didn't measure it right. What did I cut it at? I probably measured it right and cut it wrong. Goodness gracious. People, what's the deal here? Yeah. I cut it at 5. It doesn't help to measure if you don't cut it correctly, right? Oh my goodness. Oh me, oh my. Alright, let's try again. I wonder what this is. What's this dimension? Did we at least get the 3.5? Yep, the 3.5. Okay, 3.5 by 5.5. I got it this time. I got it. There we go. There we go. So we got our cherry cobbler recipe on here. Let's glue that down real quick. Okay, so when I was growing up, about an hour from us, there were cherry orchards, and so a lot of times, several times we went up there. Well, my grandpa and grandma, we built on a place for them when I was in high school. We called it the Little House. It was joined to our house by a breezeway, so we called it the Little House, and they lived out there. But we did, you know, you can imagine, we did all kinds of things together, and so we had gone several times up. You know, it was about an hour from us, and picked cherries. Then we'd bring them home. We'd all sit around, you know, pitting cherries, you know, and nowadays you can get things where you can do that. You don't have to do them all by hand, which is nice. And so we're sitting there, you know, pitting the cherries, and we made a lot of jam. We made a lot of cherry jam, and so we had what am I trying to say? So we had all of this fresh fruit, and so we would get that and just really, you know, enjoy it, making everything. And so always there would be like at least one time that we would make the some fresh cherry cobbler. So this one day we sit down to eat, and we usually ate dinner with my grandparents. They usually had breakfast and lunch by themselves, and then we would all, you know, have dinner in the house. And so we sit down, and it's dessert time. We've had dinner, and so my grandma dishes up all this fabulous cobbler, and she just cannot wait, you know, to dive into that. And so she's actually the first one to eat any of it. And oh my gosh, the look on her face was just horrific. And come to find, you know, this white looks terrible. Come to find out, instead of putting a cup of sugar in, she had put a cup of salt. You can imagine what a dessert tastes like with a cup of salt, right? Oh my gosh. She was so unhappy. Well, it was the time of year where we had been doing a lot of pickling too. And so there was a whole bag of salt. And so with a bag of salt, yes, she dumped in a whole cup into the dessert. And she was so angry. And she blamed my mom because they had been sitting there, they'd been in the kitchen just blabbing and talking a mile a minute. And so she blamed my mom, and she said, from there, forever after, if she was cooking, do not bother her with talking. So we just had a good laugh about it, She went, in later years, everybody laughed about it, but I tell you, she wasn't very happy about it at that moment. Not in the least. Where's my piece of paper I was using? Oh my goodness. Do you guys have any any food disaster stories? Oh my god. I think every family has to have some food disaster story, right? Hey, this will be, this is a great color to be able to make it blend in with these other vintage colors on these things. I think that looks great. Now, if we go ahead and map that one too, that wouldn't be bad, because then we'll have red here. Well, it's not going to hardly fit. That's okay. We could slide it under a tiny bit with another mat. Or I wonder. Maybe just play around and not have the whole thing matted. Just kind of the corner. Well, that doesn't fit. Okay, that piece is not going to work any way, shape, or form. But yeah, what kind of cooking disasters have you had in cooking some of your family recipes, you guys? I want to know. My goodness, my time is going to be up, you guys. So then following me is going to be, what did I say? Beverly with Country Loving Market. So I'm going to make these, and I've got other things on here. I'm going to put the enchilada pie on here because I thought, it had tomatoes and stuff on here. So I thought that would be pretty. Actually, that red color might look pretty with that too. I've got another piece of red too. So actually this has a nice focal point up there. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't know what I'm going to... This is going to be... Well, if I move it down, that looks kind of good there. I don't know about my story for that one. I didn't even make a story for that one yet, so I don't have to worry. And this one, I have the oatmeal cookies and a story about basically oatmeal. So let's see about that one. Let me see how that one will work out. What did I do with the recipe? Yeah, for sure that one's going to need to be matted. Look at that. That'll be kind of fun. But I like this one. This might end up being my favorite though. With this kind of color. So let's do 4 3/4 by 4 1/4. 4 3/4 by 4 1/4. All right. Oh, at one point you lived next to your cousin's grapevines. Oh my. I remember we would go out. We went out in the country somewhere to find, my mom had found somebody that would let us take some grape leaves off of their grapevines because we needed that for something. I don't even remember what we were canning, but we needed grape leaves. Anybody know what that might have been? 4 1/4. I had to see which measurement. I was blabbing and I couldn't remember which one I'd already cut. But does now I'm not sure that's even right. I'm really off with measuring today, friends. What's up with that? Greek cousins? Greek food? I don't know what we were canning. Oh my word! What in the world? Where did I get that? 4 1/4. Gosh. I'm really off today. 1/4. People, I tell you, some days measuring evidently is just hard. Who knows why? Oh, Greek food, yeah. No, it wouldn't have been that. I have no idea of what we were doing. You know what, you guys? Oh, here's a plan. I'm going to glue it on and then I can eyeball it and cut it off. I know, right, Susan? Thank goodness somebody had my back and mentioned that. I'm not usually a morning crafty person. So I'll take all the help I can get, right? Yeah, my time is almost up. Can you believe this? Okay, now let me tell you my oatmeal story. The story that's on my oatmeal thing. I'll read it to you real quick. If I read it, I'll get done. You know me, if I talk, it'll take me forever. I'll blab on and on. Okay, so here's the one for it. See, this is going to be cute. I like that. Now I'm going to trim this off so it's a better size. I like that. And then we've got 3 points of red. Really, the red up here and then this red. And you guys, can you believe that was a perfect red for that? I think that turned out great. Now I almost wish I hadn't have done the edges on that, but that's fine. So these were oatmeal cookies. These were her oatmeal cookies, and it says, I don't know that I ever had any oatmeal cookies that Grandma Fisk made. Oops, I got a typo there. I'm gonna have to redo that. But she often made it for breakfast. She would serve it up, and each morning at breakfast, Grandpa would read a chapter from the Bible while our food got cold. I always wondered why that couldn't be done in some way to allow us to eat breakfast warm. Always, every morning, there was a Bible chapter read before you could eat, and the food was already sitting on the table. You know, some chapters are long. I'm like, oh my goodness. He was a preacher. He was always, studying all the time. And so, yeah, I got to redo that one anyway. I'm glad I wasn't quite ready for that. But you guys, thanks for popping in today. I appreciate it so much. And, I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time. And this was just the perfect opportunity, the perfect reason to get one done, right? How many of you are like that? You just need to, take the time to do it. You have the ideas and you just never seem to get it executed. The plan just doesn't happen. Hi, Lydia. How are you? Okay, you guys. Look at that. There we go. I'm going to have to bump this up under here like this, or I'm afraid that, it'll be in the way of the frame. So I'm going to do that, and I don't mind that at all. I kind of like it, actually. I like it. So I hope that you might take some of your, family's handwritten recipes. If you don't, just do it, do some up yourself. You guys, there's no reason that you can't start your own family traditions of, what recipes that you guys like to have at your house, right? And so I can hardly wait to, see what everybody else is going to do today. Hello, Trudy. Welcome in. Thanks, Carol. Thank you. I tell you, I so appreciate the heads up on it would look great with a, to mat the back, right? You guys, I will see you later. I'll be on again tomorrow. Check my page for tomorrow. I can't think right now what time. Something around 1 Central or something like that. But check there. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys being here. Oh, Trudy's joining us from over on YouTube. Thanks. Thank you. All right, you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the event.